Watch a game of men's professional rugby this year and you will almost certainly see at least 12 box kicks. The ability to hang a high ball off the base of the ruck or maul has become a critical part of the scrum halves game, one of the most important elements of modern rugby. And yet it's also become possibly the most derided element of modern rugby. No feature in the game is as complained about in pubs and down clubs, on socials or street corners, the street corners I hang out talking about Exeter v Sale from the weekend, as much as box kicking. Nothing is moaned about, complained about, hated upon more. And yet, it's also so prevalent. Every team does it, dozens of times a game. Which begs one big question. And in order to answer it, we went to find the man who has likely hung more box kicks than anybody else in the history of International Rugby Union. England men's most capped player of all time, few have played more pro games in the 9 jersey than Ben Youngs. And so, with huge thanks to the podcast For the Love of Rugby, we sat down a few months back, right before he retired and I had a haircut, to dig into what makes a great chase, the intricacies of technique, which kicks you choose when, what goes into that decision, and most of all, why the hell do teams box kick?
Now that is, I actually get asked this a lot, and I think teams do it because if you've run out of momentum or you haven't got what you want in terms of those attacking phases, it's a lot easier to then go into the air of a box kick, which is from a controlled situation, which I'm sure we'll delve into, and create a contest. On the back of creating a contest, you'll probably get the ball back, potentially in a better space, and the defence is all unstructured again, and then you can launch your attack again. The other reason, of course, is it's kind of the safest way to keep a team in the channel. And what I mean by that, so when you're coming out of your half exiting, of course, is if you're kicking it and it's staying within the 15, defending from a wide edge is the easiest place to defend. So if you go off 10, for instance, and you end up in the middle of the field or from the far edge, that's a long way for everyone to get across and defend. So a lot of it is to do with the structure of it, to minimise the threat from the attacking point of view, which we're now seeing teams try and break away from that when they're touching on a sideline. And of course, the other thing is to try and create chaos that then allows you to then relaunch your attack once again in a better position the way you currently are.
So when you come to hang a box kick as a scrum half, how much is that your call versus the fly half giving you an order versus preset instructions coming from the coach versus just kind of the situation you feel you're in?
There's a number of things. So could be scoreline, could be time pressure, things like that. Also, if you've received the kick, is what's that first collision like? Have you received it, your player received it, caught it, got you on the front foot and moving forward? If they are, you're going to play off that ball. Speed of ball, momentum, you're playing. Of course you are. If your catch has gone up and they've been whacked and you're in your half and it's a messy, slow breakdown, you don't want to play off that because you're facing a really set defence that's all licking their lips to come and get you defensively to try and jackal that ball. And at Test Rugby, you get jackaled 30, 40 from your line. That's going between the posts. So recognition of that, and as soon as you recognise you've either got momentum and speed of ball, you can play off that. If you've lost that collision, then it's like, right, hit that arrow up, and again, you give that a chance. If that arrow gets hit up, and what I mean by that is off that breakdown, you've got the pod of 3 forwards you often see with a 10 in behind. If they get momentum again, right, it's back on again, we can attack. If they get banged or hit defensively and that becomes another mess, well, you're better off now without the ball. So therefore, what you're trying to do again is create a structured kick. But with that structure, can a winger get in the air? Can they win it clean? Can they slap it down? Can they create chaos again, which you can then launch again? So I think it's often seen as a negative thing, but actually what you're trying to do is create an attacking opportunity through it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people just think that you're giving away the ball. Well, you are in theory, but you're trying to land a kick perfectly within the 5 metre line, because if you don't win it, it's very hard to attack from. But if you do win it, you've got an structured defence to play against, and you can almost do it a bit like a rugby league. You've almost got another set of 3-4 phases to try and break them down.
Yeah. Here, Wales are going backwards, as is so often been the case over the last 12 months. What are you looking for in terms of setting up this angle, and in terms of actually when you decide to kick, why do you see scrum halves doing that extra thing where they bring in an extra phase to set this up before hanging it?
So, first of all, 69 minutes, 13-14, Wales aren't getting momentum in their attack. So, recognition from Thomas Williams. I really rate him as a 9. Love how he plays the game. He's got to the 5 metre channel. Not much going on. If you watch this now, Thomas Williams plays the ball. Right, again, they've been hit behind the breakdown. As soon as Thomas Williams recognises that, you see him calling them in. He knows we ain't playing any more rugby now. It's 14-13. Risk now is getting higher the more multi phase you go. So lovely length of ruck. Right people have come in. You want the second row in there, making it as long as possible. Chandler Cunningham himself has got little to no chance. And the other thing as well, which again is look where they are on the 15-metre line, which is the perfect sort of distance you want when you're a right footer for Thomas Williams. You've got to kick over his shoulder slightly, and it allows him then to have a couple of chases down the short side, which probably be 3, but minimum 2, and he can then just drop it in there. My mate Coley there's not doing too much, is he?
Pointing aggressively.
Pointing.
So you mentioned there you've got the second row at the back of that, making that a nice long ruck. Is that typically something you kind of pre-call, or is that a happy coincidence on that occasion that who he's called in happens to be 6'9"?
So on that one there, it's obviously off a multi-phase attack. So you're not going to have the perfect setup that you want, but that's very clear. When you see that Will Rawlings goes onto the left edge, so he understands he's there, the lock's already come in. So one of those locks would have come in to make that long, without doubt, definitely. If anything, Wales have actually used their left winger, instead of chasing from the left-hand side, he's actually come, and the reason why people come down that channel is because when Chandler Cunningham himself comes to charge down a course, that opens up a lovely seam, because this, of course, was before you could get away with blocking people.
Yeah.
So that's why you see an instance there, wingers chasing where the charge down used to be. They don't need to do that anymore because, of course, you cannot block. But what he's trying to do there, I mean, Freddie Stewart, of course, is fantastic in the air. If it's not someone like Freddie, and they slap that down, well, actually, Wales have made 20 metres. They're now in England's half. England are now thinking, well, I can't give away a penalty away, because if I do, it's going to go to 17-13. And it's just that mind shift. And they haven't had to do a huge amount to gain 20 metres with the opportunity to potentially, if Freddie didn't catch that, unstructured play.
How does this change if you're hanging it off a maul, say, versus off the ruck, as we see DuPont doing here?
Yeah, so this is obviously, off mauls isn't ideal. I suspect that the pre-call was going off the maul anyway, was to play territory off this maul. The maul's obviously unfolded not very nicely. You see Mafu's gone to make the ruck long, but they've kept as many. This is the key. Look at the guys that are chasing, like Aldrit, Urumara.
Yeah.
You got the other back rower there. You got Penno, and they're all crosses getting out as well. Like he's going. So like all these guys are now chasing, because if this kicks on the money, the box kick, you've now got genuinely like 3 jackal threats as well, and that's the other thing. So DuPont up it goes, great contestable. Now France slapped that down, knock on, but it's not the end of the world, because on another day that goes back and it's unstructured, which of course feeds the French attack. So it's never done aimlessly, because if that slaps down, brilliant. France are into their duet, the way they love to play, open field, structured, which is a lot easier, more their way of attacking. If England were to catch it, because of the way that they've formulated that maul that's led to then obviously a ruck, the right people have gone in it and the right people are on their feet. If England let him catch it, well, look how many people are around the ball to completely try and jackal that. And look how many England players, I think it's Benel just behind Slightholme there.
Yeah.
Other than that, who's going to try and clean that? Well, the time Benel probably reacts to that, I dare say it, a couple of those French back rowers are over that ball. And again, it can just be such a weapon.
So I want to bring in Will here, who plays scrum half currently in the 9th division of English rugby.
Thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, thereabouts. Obviously, I think equivalent to yourself at Leicester Tigers.
He doesn't play, he performs. He performs. There's a real difference between playing and performing.
Look, Ben Youngs, you've got many, many caps for England. You've got many caps for the British and Irish Lions. How many caps do you have for Long Eaton second team?
I'm yet to make my debut, but how many
I'm
have you
there,
made?
mate.
So to be fair, I'd be spending a lot of time on the pine, sitting there getting blisters, watching you play the full 80. So I'm yet to delve there, but
Perform the full 80.
perform again. Exactly right. Thank you. See, it's sunk in. You can tell when you're next training, tell them, look, there's a difference between playing and performing, and I'm going to show you tonight with the way that I train.
So what I want to do is very much look both from the perspective of someone watching as a spectator and also as a scrum half,
Of course.
as being able to kind of, how do you implement this in a game situation? I don't know if you might have heard of him. A young scrum half, intrepid young scrum half, goes by the name of Benjamin Ryder-Youngs.
Yep.
Here playing for England during the COVID season in 2021.
Oh.
A game you did win against France. What is going through your head as you're the scrum half, and this is off a restart here? Is this a situation where you've had a pre-call from the coach that off restart, if it's anywhere close to your line, you kick it? Or are you looking up, are you scanning, are you looking at the backfield in a situation?
So in this situation, given it's from a kickoff, Billy V's carried in that ruck, and we used to sometimes use Billy to stay in the backfield. South Africa did it a lot with Dwayne Vermeulen back in the day. So he would carry that first ruck. stay on his feet, the box kick would go up and he'd be in the backfield, which almost put you off putting it back on him because he was so dominant in the air. And even if he did win it, you then got to stop him and he'd get South African momentum. So on this instance here, you're on a kickoff, so you don't want to waste any more phases. It's because you're even going to end up kicking it anywhere for the next one. So Billy gets going here. We just see, you got Charlie Yules in there, you got the Marrows in there, Luke Cowan-Dickey. So you've almost got the perfect ruck. Ideally, Wills is out of there, but you see how Luke Cowan-Dickey's recognised that. He's on his feet. We've got the chasers. So you're in a set position here. So it wouldn't make sense to now go another phase using Carl Sinkler, let's say, to hit up. Then you've got to take in the threats. Julian Marchand there, probably one of the greatest jackalers, really, hooker. When you think of like Malcolm Marks, Julian Marchand, like these type of guys are phenomenal over the ball. I don't want to give him a shot at the ball. Like we're 13-7. It's again, international rugby at time, it's risk reward. So I don't need to go another phase. We're 7-8 metres from the touchline here. I've got Johnny May on his feet to chase. So the scenario is we don't need to risk anything here. We go in the air and we use Johnny's absolute aerial ability to try and create chaos. He says, and I can't remember where it goes.
It's a good kick.
It's a good kick, that. Johnny May, Johnny May gets it, which is exactly what you want. So one of the things that I used to really enjoy, and I used it against Ireland quite a lot, if we play this on, because the fullback comes up so much, and Johnny used to be phenomenal. If he ever won this clean, so my straight away thought here, in terms of a kickoff, is I would then get there and hit a roller. And you've basically, because of the fact the backfield 15's come up, wingers like has to sin because he's waiting for the ball to unfold. Open winger can't, it's a long way for him to come across. If you win this, there's instant space to then get it on. And when I hit a roller kick, what I mean by that is it's not your traditional box kick. It's the one where you hit it parallel, top of the ball, and it skids on it, bounces on it, and we call it a roller because it rolls. And that could be hugely affected off kickoff. So, when you're next playing, if you hit a contestable kick though, and you win it back, there will be space straight behind. And it's almost like death by 1,000 cuts for the other team. They've just conceded a try or 3 points. They've kicked off. They're thinking, right, get themselves back in the game. They then lose the aerial ball. Then it goes roller again. And all of a sudden they're back in their 22 going, now we've got to exit. And all the pressure's back on them.
Especially when you've got the 50-22 threat as well. If you land in your own half.
Absolutely.
Then go again.
Absolutely.
With that as well, because often when you have those kind of roller kicks, as you're saying, a lot of the time those are called by wingers or potentially a 10 or centres, whoever's kind of spotted space in the backfield. How often does that happen when it comes to sort of clearances? If potentially the opposition back three are sat a little bit too deep, and you think we could actually turn this into a second kick, they think we're just going to kick it long, we could potentially get somebody underneath it. How often does that happen, that the rest of the kind of chasers in your backfield potentially kind of change the call for you as you're setting up and you've kind of got to disguise that? Does that happen or not?
It does happen because you still have your principles. So France kick long, don't they?
Yeah.
Long off Dupont, an absolute mile to be fair. We were always a kick short, kick to compete, use our wingers, use like guys like Johnny's that example there to get in the air. Now, if Johnny recognised that actually, there's to go long in behind, say they're waiting for us to kick and contest the ball, but it was actually over his head, those wingers would give you those calls. So it's always a decision. Like, it depending on what they're doing, you can still alter what you're going to do. Bit like if they were super deep, let's say, and we were a team that tends to kick really long, like they would make the call of, half a kick, and they get those comms to you. So you just know, okay, I'm going to put it into that space. And what I mean by when we talk about kicking it and then creating chaos, if Johnny wins this and actually we win the scraps on the back of that, look at that, like what you can do attack-wise from that chaotic turnover that would be. The best teams in the world are able to create those unstructured scenarios, then absolutely punish you on the back of it.
So in a game situation, where are you looking as you're planning to set up to kick? What are you eyeing up?
So in this scenario, I want it to be landing like within, like no further than, I don't want it outside the 15. So I'd need it inside the 15, especially off a maul. Even more so because you lose so many bodies there. Like you see there, George Ford having to chase. So if it's outside the 15, and the fullback starts getting out, like before you know it, he's suddenly going to get to Owen, he's going to get to other guys, and that's why kicking off a maul is actually, it's risky. It's more risky. Where you looked at the one before, I think that might have come off a maul, and we actually probably used a hit up. And again, it's structured to make sure that everyone's in the right spot, so you can't really be vulnerable, even if you necessarily don't kick it right. But off a maul, you've got to be aiming for 50 inside the 15. Anything outside the 15, it almost lights up the attack.
With that in mind, is there a disadvantage because sometimes you see nines would just kick straight off a maul whilst it's still rolling forward? Is there a disadvantage to that, or is that worth it because, often the back three are still backpedaling or the opposition still think you're going to attack, that sort of thing?
You'd often try and use a 5+1 exit maul. That's like tends to be the main mauling exit you'd use. That leaves you with a back row on their feet on the outside anyway that can jackal. Bar that France one where obviously it's collapsed and they get the right people on their feet again to jackal. But the reason why, you know, when the maul's moving forward nicely and then they actually kick on the front foot, again, it's just easier because what you're getting is mauls. Some teams sort of swim up the outside of the maul and they sort of like lean on here like they're not doing anything. And as soon as the 9 goes, they release and try and cut pressure. But once you're moving forward, actually, it's like they can actually break out that maul and move forward. But once it's like stagnant, it becomes, it's not as inviting for the forwards to then move on to it and everything like that, if that makes sense. And equally, like, if the ref, let's say most average ref, and I don't know the average, but let's say you get 10 penalties per game on average, both teams, it's around the 10 mark. I don't want 10 of my pens that we win in our exiting through a maul. I want them in kickable positions. And I don't want to waste the energy of my forwards because I need them to be able to carry ruck maul further down the line in the opposition's half. And it's about like how effective in coming out of your half. I just want to be effective. So if it's clean delivery and you're moving forward slightly, I want the ball gone. I want it in a contest. I want the wingers after it. I want those guys breaking out, filling the field so I can reserve their energy for damage later on.
So in terms of different types of kick as well.
Yes.
Right here, you're in the middle of the field and bam, pinpoint, would be 50-22 nowadays. Before that law came in.
I surprised myself at times. I didn't know what was happening there. Go back. So on this one, I'm obviously taking the mic here. But yeah, this was before, this is how long ago it was. This was before 50-22s, which feels like 50-22s have been around for like years.
But here we are.
So I'm assuming this is just multi-phase. Well, first of all, I don't know if it's off a turnover. That the fact that Bryce Doolan is there, I would have been running into that ruck knowing the back field isn't covered. That's a decision made on the back of just what you've seen, the vision.
Okay.
I know that Teddy Thomas flat. I've seen all that space. I've got in there, got the ball in and out. Like, you know, if I leave that long and I try and set up a perfect scenario there, like everyone covers the backfield. So you know there's the space. Get it there quick, and that's all that is. That's just a decision on the back of what I've seen.
And in terms, are there any situations where you're definitely not looking to box kick? Obviously, you know, if you're in the ascendancy or you're on the opposition try line, but within this sort of zone, are there any rucks you'd look at or situations where you'd go, absolutely no way?
Yeah, there's times where you just think like absolutely not, and a lot of it is speed of ball and momentum, and some of it is obviously tacticals as well. So like I don't know what Dickie's doing there, but it creates chaos, doesn't it? Like you know, Dickie wins that, you're in a fantastic structural position. So a lot of the time, you know, England, we were part of our structure, and you know, under Eddie, and our philosophy was minimum phases out of our half and be really efficient. We wanted to be one of the best at just kind of like. England are really annoying because they give you nothing for cheap coming out your half, and they get down there and then they stay down there, and then they feel like they score for cheap. You know, that's how we almost like they build a score, and it's like I haven't really worked for that. It's like, well, yeah, because we didn't give you anything free, and often teams would go too many phases and invite us in. But in short, yeah, it was all speed of ball and momentum. It was speed of ball and momentum, and as soon as that felt like it dried up in terms of for the 10. Or myself, like we knew that we could resort because it was a huge weapon of ours that we could use.
And does the process change at all when you're on your own goal line, when you're looking to exit?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, absolutely. So the technique that I use for a kicked contestable is a very different technique than I use for a long and on or long and off, and where I kick the ball and how I actually hit it.
Okay.
So this is obviously I'm trying to go long and on here, but if you just look at my shoulder as I kick the ball. So I'm just trying to like open up a little bit to go longer.
Okay.
Now, if I was kicking for touch, I would actually try and close my left shoulder. So my right shoulder's come round there. I'd actually try and close my left shoulder to really try and pin it on that 45. But I want to open myself up there because I'm trying to go like as long as I can. And it pretty much, I don't know if that's where the ruck is and I've hit it. Yeah, it's not deviated not probably like a yard further, like just 1 yard to the right maybe from where I've actually hit it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to hit it straight as I can.
At what point are your shoulders and your head at the correct angle? You know, is it you're wanting to come straight on with your head over the ball, or is it more you're wanting to swing around so you can get your leg to kind of move the whole way around, or somewhere in between?
Yeah, it's all a bit, but everything has like a knock-on effect, like the butterfly effect. So first and foremost, if I'm kicking contestable, right, and the difference between kicking contestable and kicking long is, if I just look at the camera there, if I'm kicking contestable, I'm having it tilted back slightly like that, right, and my little finger is on the seam of the ball, and I'll never pick up the ball like that. The way I shape it and roll it back, the way I hold it on a maul, I'll always have my little finger there, and it's honestly consistently about there on the ball. If I'm kicking long, I'm tilting the ball like that. So contestable, I'm going there, and I'm going up and through. If I'm going long, I'm tilted forward, and I'm punching it as hard as I can like that. So that's the difference straight away in the ball drop and where you want it. So contestable, I've got my little finger on there, down the seam of the ball. The first thing I always think about, if I'm going from a maul, so that's the easiest way to just start with, you're in a nice solid position, standing leg. I'm holding, the hooker's got the ball at the back, and I've got my little finger like that. And as I take a step back, the importance of bringing this ball nice and level for the moment, and I always want my little finger level with my belly button. That is literally as simple as that. So I think, I don't want it in front. If I want it in front, I have to naturally fall off the ball, fall back, that's when you spoon it, but equally, you could end up kicking it all the way infield, which is not what you want, especially if your centres will start screaming at you because the fullback catches it and all of a sudden they're on the far edge. So I'm here, I'm thinking little finger, level with belly button, but to my right hip. Not my left hip, to my right hip. Right
as a right footer, that is.
As a right footer, that is, exactly. Left foot would be completely the same, but obviously other side. So little finger would be here, that would be that side. It would be left hip, but this, if I had to go let belly button, it would be about the same height. So come back, right hip, and as I then plant this leg here, which will be from the maul, so one step back, plant, this is now key. Your standing leg is so important, because if you get lazy like this, you end up like here, you end up dropping the ball here, and then everything hunches over. And I call it a C shape. Like the last thing you want to end up, if you see a 9 kicking, or if you're a 9 and you kick, and you end up in this position like this, right? You don't want it. That's like that. Like fundamentally, your standing leg's gone wrong. Your body shape. So you've got to be like strong and corey. So there, hip, belly button, planting leg, and now I'm thinking like chest big. So I want my head down like this, but I'm not head down like this. I'm head nice and tall, right? And then as that unfolds, the ball tilts slightly. I release the ball just right at the last second. Some people release it too early, and the ball drop goes like this, especially in these conditions in the UK. Like ball goes like that. So I want to be really disciplined with that. And as I drop it, that hand comes away. In I come through like that. This hand would be about here by now. So it'd be like bang, and I'm up, and I'm through. My chest is big, my head's down, my arms like that. As I hit it, probably have a couple of hops, and then I look to see where it's gone. But often you can tell where the ball's gone from the sound, from the feel. Again, one bad habit which I see a lot of young 9s do, I see a lot of 9s do, even like the academy and coming through, but certainly amateur as well, is this, and they are so desperate to see where it's gone, thinking, have I nailed it? Like, you can't look that early. As soon as you look that early, you get it wrong. So bang, bang, nice strong finish, head down, everything going up through the ball, couple of hops, body weight comes through, turn, and then it's like, right, into chasing.
That arm in the air, what's that all about?
The arm in the air is to stop me. So as I come in like that, it's to keep myself closed in terms of, I don't want to open up like that. Like I don't want to, if I'm kicking down the touch line, say we're on the 15 meter line for like reference, let's say, touch line of course is there, is to keep it disciplined so I know that I can stay within the 15 meter channel. If I start opening myself up like this, or this arm gets a bit like there, if I go there, I end up naturally in that C shape, which I do not want. And I think with the arm coming here, it just allows me to stay nice and big and tall, which is what I want. But it also allows me to stay disciplined, that I'm cutting off that area there to land on that 15.
This one I think is really interesting. Post kick, I can see you end up, Rob, if we just go frame by frame, there we go. You're really trying to balance on that left foot there of yours.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier, you don't want to look up too soon. You know, you don't want to see where your kicks are gone. But there you are, you're trying to stay really balanced and almost walk forward after that to make sure that you haven't hunched over and gone backwards. What's the importance of that? So once your kick's gone through, keeping that leg strong. What's that all about?
It's really important. I don't know if that's Olivon. I'm not sure who's put kick pressure on there, but there's some. Yeah, it's Olivon. There's a lot of kick pressure on that one. The standing leg is really important, absolutely, especially on all the kicks. But on that exit, on the exit there, I'm under a lot of pressure there. Olivon's like really put on some serious kick pressure. So the discipline is like, as you come through there, I'm nice and strong and I'm kind of hopping, but I'm trying to invite everything to go through that ball and then down that channel.
Yeah.
Naturally, because he's come on a lot of pressure, I fall off it ever so slightly. I'd like to be a little bit more through it than I am, but it's just that standing leg and all that weight is almost, it's like, as I generate the power from the standing leg, through that leg, it's up and through, and that's why it's really important for that finish.
So if we then go a bit more into the setup, you've got your caterpillar in, you've rolled the ball back or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I roll back.
Yep. Once you're into your hunched over position, ready to get this up, how do you then transition into that perfect position where you're swinging through and you're not going into that C shape? Because naturally you'll be in there a little bit as you're hunching over to grab the ball. What sort of habits you may see that you want to avoid, or just good habits where you know I'm in a strong position here?
Yeah, well, it's almost, I've literally set up the ball and I just literally glance there. It's exactly how, which is obviously repetition, but I like to have the ball. My left foot, which will end up being my standing leg, is just on the outside of the ball, or the ball's just in the inside leg, essentially. So setting up there, you can see how I've done it there as well, is my little finger will be on that seam, so the ball's set there. So I'm thinking exactly the same as what I described, except for it feels like you've got to be really quick when you kick off the ground because of the kick pressure naturally. But you've got to back your process and the smoothness of it. So of course, you've got to do it quickly, but it's got to look smooth. It can't look chaotically frantic or fast. If it's fast and snappy, you end up falling off the weight. You end up in that C shape. You don't want to do it. So this is how I do it. So inside foot there, ball on little finger on the ball there. As I take that step back, very similar to the maul. You know when I talked about coming back there? Transfer of weight. Boom, come back, and I end up being level with that back foot there. I end up sticking leg. That will then plant down, and then it's all the same principles once again. So ball, right hip, belly button, as I come through, drop, hitting through. Now with this one, I've actually got a kick over my shoulder. So you notice the first one we spoke about, that was as if I was kicking right footer, right hand side. When it's this side, you actually have to fall off the kick a little bit because you've got to try and invite the ball to go over your left shoulder, because if that's the 15-metre line, you're kicking over the ruck and you've got kick pressure coming from that side. So this is actually a harder kick for a right footer to kick over your left shoulder. If it's a left kicker, it'll be harder to do on the right shoulder on the other side, of course. So again, it's a little bit of adapting. The principles are the same, but you see how I kind of move backwards a little bit off it? I just kind of hop backwards a bit and then just fall off like that. That's because I have to do that to invite it, because I'm trying to direct the ball. So as I drop and I hit and I fall off, I'm hitting it and I'm going, go that way, like head down that way, you know? On this side, I can be more closed. I'm there and I'm trying to close off, and I'm there because I'm saying, go there. On this one, I have to fall back because I'm saying, go there. Yeah. So your distribution of weight and the way that you finish and your ability to either close off or open up is absolutely key for a 9, and how your ability is, whether you're kicking off the right-hand side or the left-hand side, over your shoulder or open.
Off this one, you do a little step away from the maul right here.
Yeah, so on this one, looking back, I should have probably just ran there, shouldn't I? Look at that. Oh, who's the ref? Get him away. So on that one, that would just be very much like, sinks ideally, I'd rather him have it on his left hip, because that would then shield me. So again, these are things that 9s need to remember. So if I'm kicking, for instance, I never want the hooker to have the ball on that side. That means I've got to stand here, opens up that kick pressure. If it's on the left hip, of course, his body naturally protects you more. On this instance, I reckon what would have happened, it's on the right-hand side, I'd have felt like there's no kick pressure. 6 is there as well. See the 6 for France? So I'd have probably noticed that he's on my shoulder, so I just had to get out to give myself more room. It wouldn't be for any other reason than that. But once again, you see how, like with England, we kicked unbelievably contestable. So I knew that my kicks had to be in a position where Johnny could either do this, hit to try and fire through the breakdown, or get in the air and compete. Even though I've hit it, you see, I've had to just hop and just fall off ever so slightly, just invite it, trying to get down that 5-metre channel.
So, with the new kicking laws in place, you can't have somebody here to essentially just stand in your way and stop anyone from trying to charge it down. So
I wasn't a fan of that anyway. I always found it really, like when the South Africans, you stand there like that. It's just
if any referees are watching, he's good as gold. So that probably means there's increased importance on that step back as you come before your ball drop.
I see some 9s and they go out like here, like you're essentially going closer to the charge down. So the reason we go back is to give yourself even more room. You know how a 10 would kick like this? So get the ball, let's say, from this side, and he'd kick like there. Yeah. That's 9s, that's not how we kick. We don't go back to then kick like this. If you look at myself or any 9s, right? We're back, but we're totally like parallel, like across. We are, and we're all here. We're never actually forward onto kicking up the field. So it's that lateral movement. And then when you say about the standing leg and this leg, is some nines could be here. I just was always like sort of a bit further than shoulder width apart. And then as I step there, I'd probably end up in not too far off that, to be fair. And then it's just that slightly bent, and then that leg's come through.
Sure.
But I don't ever want to be like that.
Yeah.
Except for when I'm kicking off, long into touch, but I'm still going back, and then it's that tilt of the ball. I'm still pretty parallel, but I'm whacking it through on that one.
Yeah. So moving forward to ball drop now, okay. So how does that differ when you're going for the roller over the top, a high contestable, or you're just going for distance? What changes about your drop of the ball?
Yeah, it does. So contestable, like here, I'm going back, I'm going hip, belly button height, little finger, and I'm slightly back like that. That allows me to go up, through, end over end. If I'm kicking long, it's same again, little finger, but instead of being like that, I'm forward on it. And again, that's why punch, bang, straight into that space there, and I'm pinging the ball as hard as I can. I'm literally inviting it to go down that channel. With a roller, for instance, it's a very different type of kick. So once again, it's the same principle in theory, in terms of I've got to go back first because defences are right there. So I go back, give myself room. But on this occasion with a roller, is I am holding it like that. So contestable, long, roller. And I'm going to hit this bit here. That is what I'm trying to hit. So I'd go back, I'd hold it like that, nice high shelf, same again, right hip, level with where I want to hit it. And as I come up and hit it through, that'll go like that. Because the key with a roller is you need it up and over really quickly. You need it to find grass as quickly as possible. And again, everything's about the transfer of weight and the distribution of how you hit that ball. So bang, and off it goes, and it skids on.
Would you say the ball drop's the main thing that changes between those three kicks, or is there anything in terms of the way you actually kick it that changes?
So the ball drop is the biggest thing, without doubt. But the distribution of your weight is really, really key. As I say, with a contestable, I'm up and I'm through it, like as in I'm encouraging it to go up. If I'm kicking long, I'm encouraging it. I'm almost like punching it more, but I'm going through it like long ways rather than up ways. And roller, it's like a half kick. You don't hit it particularly hard. It's just, again, you're almost just like sort of guiding the ball. It's a real sort of, it's more of a guiding kick than anything. You're sort of going, off you go, sort of thing.
Like a golf chip kind of thing.
It is. It's like that. It's like, right, there you go. Because by hitting it, and again, where I want the roller to go, so if I'm going to that touch line, the point needs to be going to where I want it to go.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't be aiming, if I was aiming for that touch line, for instance, that's not how I drop the ball. I drop the ball like that, but I need it pointing towards where I want it eventually, to like the angle I want. So if I'm going over my shoulder, for instance, I wouldn't hit it like that. If I was going over to that shoulder, try line, left corner, 50-22's on, I ain't hitting it like that. I'm holding it so the ball is pointing to exactly the angle I want, bang, and then it goes.
So hypothetically, if there was anybody who was watching this on YouTube and definitely not stood in front of you right now, who was a hopeless box kicker, who really wanted to learn, aspiring scrum halves, definitely children under the age of 28, what would be your process from start to finish? What's going through your head?
First and foremost, relax. Right, relax. And with the box kick, everyone thinks hang time, I've got to kick it as hard as I can. You haven't. If you've got your technique right, you only have to hit it at sort of 80%, it'll just get lovely hang time and distance to be right. So if I was to break it down and you want to practice in your garden or your club or wherever you may want to be, right, first and foremost, you get in the ball, and you could start with the maul, because I think maul is the easiest way than before you advance or going off the floor, in my opinion. Off the floor is a bit harder, so because it's the principles is a little bit easier. So you need to be here, so think ball with your left hip to start with. You got your little finger on the seam of the ball. That's key. Little finger on the seam of the ball, and it's nice and upright. So I'm looking at where I want to hit it. There it goes. So that's the first reference. Ball there. One step back, nice and tall, relax. Then I think little finger level, height-wise with belly button, onto my right hip, tilted back ever so slightly, standing leg, and then up and through. Up and through, that's the key. If you find that you're doing that technique, but the ball's going too long, and it's not contestable at all, I dare say the mistake you're making is instead of the ball being slightly back here, it's too far forward. So you're hitting it like you would do like a long and off or long and on. And that's the key. So you need to keep the discipline to keep it onto your right hip. That then comes level and up and through. But if you start creeping like that, two things will happen. You either bang it long or you give yourself no room. So what do you have to do? You have to swing around, you have to fall off it, and the ball goes miles infield. So they're like two key references. If you're hooking it or it's going long, your drop isn't consistent with where it needs to be behind there.
Sure. And no doubt what you've just done, put it all together, 50-22. We'll just do some editing magic. The ball's flown over there. What a kick.
Yeah, what a kick.
So just on the point of technique, right? Even professionals, even like Gonzalo Bertrand here, who's a great scrum half, gets it wrong sometimes. What does
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Here, he hits his kick horribly. What does he get wrong that leads him to just like scuffing this kick?
See his head. So when I said about how people look at the ball too eager, watch how quickly.
Oh yeah.
As he's hit that, his head has come up literally at the same time, and therefore you slightly fall off it. And by going up, also by looking up, I dare say it, he would have brought the ball towards him slightly, rather than keeping it nice and strong there. He definitely had it tilted backwards, but it would have dropped on the inside. But if you look at that, frame by frame, he isn't too far off. Like most of his techniques isn't too bad there. Apart from, you can just look at his head as he's hit that. He's literally like at the same time as hitting it, and therefore he's ended up like half kicking it and just not getting the discipline of it. And that's why I said it's so important. Like, don't get giddy about seeing where it's gone. Like the ball, the noise, the feedback from the ball will tell you where it's gone. Like, be comfortable hitting it, thinking like 1, 2, may feel like forever, it's not. Like 1, 2, and then it's like, okay, now I know. But you'll know, like the ball will give you feedback. You'll know whether it's on the dance floor or not. Yeah, he's got a bit nervy there and gone, where's it gone?
This one, which we don't need to talk about too much.
Not box kick, mate. That's the difference.
I didn't have a left foot then. But I do now. So on another day, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, on that one, that's I should have dropped that on my left foot. So that's where it's.
So how important is increasingly? We talk about Dupont being equally good off either foot. How important is having both feet available to you as an option?
Exactly this reason. So because actually the space is there. You see,
yeah.
It brings in. Is that Penno? I'm guessing. Like if I dink that over on my left rather than my right, because I'm on that natural arc anyway. Like that's bouncing, Dupont probably picks up and runs 60 metres. But hopefully it dribbles out and touch, and it just shows you like the importance, because as a 9, like, I've only gone there because I think Dupont, has he gone into the boot of the scrum? He's hedged his bets, he's gone onto the open side, which that, and then that Penno's there. Like this is where like rugby is like, there's so many tactical decisions around it. Like, so Doulan's on the far edge. So he has to take last. He's there for the cover in case we go to crossfield, but ultimately we're going to run a shape there. You see Johnny, like we're going to play. So Doulan has to take that. Dupont has hedged his bets because if Johnny May's on the open, so Dupont's actually done the right thing defensively. So for those, you can see Johnny May behind the sign there. Dupont, there's no threat on this left edge. He can hedge his bets, which means Penno has to come up. I know that Doulan's over the other side, so that's why you make those certain decisions. Dupont's gone in the boot. I know he's there. Penno has to take me. Doulan's on the other side, and that's why you need a left foot, because if I had a left foot there, like you got all that space to play on, which is a nightmare for them to get out of. But if there's one man that could have got out of it, it was probably going to be Dupont.
But we see a lot with him that he goes, because you've talked about the difference between just a kick and a box kick, right? That sometimes you do find a 9 would do it, they'll take 2 or 3 steps away from the breakdown, as we saw earlier, and then they'll go for just a standard kind of a wiper's kick or whatever. Dupont, I mean, the most famous one was probably the one he did in the Champions Cup final, where he hit that 50-22 straight off the back of a midfield breakdown on the halfway line. Would you say that that's much more important for a 9? Do you say it's less of a priority to train yourself with both feet? Because obviously you can set up, you can just go off a breakdown, you can try and avoid the kick pressure. However, obviously most teams they'll stick, RG Snyman, Ebenezer there going, I know Ben Young's
the ninth division.
Second division. Oh, mate, yeah, they sneak in there all the time. It's horrible.
First and foremost, you need to be fundamentally brilliant at kicking long and kicking short off your dominant foot.
Yeah.
And I think if you can add, like Dupont is, like, the guy is a genius, and rightly so. Like I've got so much praise for him. He can go contestable and long on both feet. Not many of us can do that. But if you can add the ability to grubber off your left foot, to hit rollers off your left foot, to hit short little attacking kicks off your left foot, then I think that is a massive, massive weapon. And I think all the 9s can do that. Like they can. There is just very few that can bang it equally as far off their right foot as their left foot and contestable as well as that. So I would say that absolute nail your ability to do contestable kicks off your dominant foot and long and out or long and on. And if you can then add your short kicking game with rollers off both feet and grubber kicks off both feet, that's the key.
This is for higher levels, of course, than necessarily anybody who's playing the second team, aged only 28. I remember with Faf de Klerk, the first time I ever saw him kick off his right foot was that second lines test in 2023, where he sets up the try for Lukanyoam.
Yeah.
And the whole defence are just going, well, he's onto his right foot. We can just crowd around Faf and we can leave a bit of space back there. He drops it onto his right and Am scores off it. And obviously it's something we are seeing increasingly more often at top level.
Yeah, I think that I think so many people are used to seeing guys kick off certain feet because, especially off 9, but I think off multi-phase, off different types of kicks like that one you mentioned there, then like most guys can kick off both feet. But in terms of the actual exit plays, like DuPont's the only guy I've seen just be able to absolutely nail it. And I think that's what makes it such a weapon for him is he either gets out a little bit to create more room, but he gets out because he can go left or right. And if from a charging down point of view, it's very, very difficult because if you set him up to get him on his right foot, he'll set you up and then he'll just switch, bang off his left, no kick pressure, to the point where teams actually end up not even trying to charge him down because you don't quite know what he's going to do, which actually then even plays into his hands even better.
Yeah. On that point of teams knowing what you're looking for, has there ever been a game where video analysis was so key, that actually there was one game where the opposition winger was slow to turn, he was very slow in the turn, and that when the kick went in behind, then it gave you such a competitive advantage in business and in rugby?
I love what you've done there.
Is video analysis like an important part of the kicking?
It is important. I tell you where like we get like the data and things like that though, and also is the like wingers, how many wingers like actually what's their catching percentage, like what's their ability in the air. And there's certain wingers we've come across where we have absolutely targeted contestable kicks, like gone after them big time. And you do use footage, you look at like their movement, you look at movement like backfield covers. I think I said about the one clip where you can go kick on kick. Some teams are just generally the open winger doesn't look after his mate, and you do that analysis and you go, okay, right, if I win this in this situation, I know like there's going to be space again. So without doubt, you do your homework.
So just a couple more clips. In this one, you've shaved your head.
Yes, I have, yeah.
Yeah.
That's Dan Cole, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So one of these things that I think fans sometimes get frustrated with is you've got 2 minutes to play here, you're 3 points ahead, and you kick the ball away. However, in your own 22, what is your thought process here on this kick that I know it's not you personally hanging?
Because why would you want to play? It's 23-20. There's 3 minutes left. You've got to hold the ball for what? 2 minutes. You've got to hold the ball on, give or take. Like, they are going to be going at every single breakdown trying to jackal that. If you also look at who's on their feet, we've probably lost momentum. Like, there isn't much to play for there. We carry that ball up. We try and run a phase. We're going to get into the middle of the pitch maybe. Let's say that gets jackaled. That's a penalty, dead in front. Kick the 3 points.
Yeah. The
consequence of losing is huge. You're playing a Six Nations game. You run there, you get jackaled, and they end up drawing. Like, you've basically up by 3 with 2 minutes to go. Why are you playing? Doesn't make any sense. Now, if that's like 20 minutes left and the opportunity's there, then you would. But at this stage of the game, you are better off kicking it in. It's actually a great kick. Johnny chases it fantastically well, as he always did. Like, boom, knocks that.
It takes
like,
the ball going backwards.
Takes it going backwards. Like, but if Penno doesn't get the offload away, like, Johnny's probably tackling him there. We're blasting that ruck. Then France are going, oh my gosh, 3 points down. We're actually going to have to play because we need to score. So then they go a number of phases. That opens up your jackal of threat opportunities. You get one, 26-20, England win the game. So I think people I understand why they may get frustrated. Like, it's the fact that at that point, it's about winning the game. Like, you are professionals and your job is to win. And therefore, the risk doesn't outweigh the reward. Like, you might go a number of phases. Let's say you go 4 phases. You might get yourself up to halfway line. But, like, you're still in range of being punished if you to get jackaled. And I think that's where we talked about themes, didn't we, before in a previous show, about themes of games, about attacking, defending and all that. At this stage, if I remember correctly, it was a very kick-heavy defensive sort of period within rugby.
No, the main thing as well is like 2 minutes is longer than you think,
So much longer.
It takes 10 seconds to set a breakdown and then go again. and you've essentially got to do that 12, 13 times. That's 12, 13 opportunities for Charles Oliver and Gregory Alderete to get over the ball in that situation.
Absolutely. And the thing is as well is, now with the use it call and everything like that, sealing off and things like that, you've got to be so careful. When teams do try and close out a game, you'll see that they'll be as close to touchline as possible, because if they were to give away a sealing off penalty, a jackal penalty and all that, at least make it hard for the kicker. Yeah. But a minute in rugby to hold onto the ball is a decent time. That's probably 3 or 4 rucks still to give people a shot. And also you bring the referee into the game there, where he can make a decision. So you just don't want to do that.
Yeah. So for you, to kind of sum up, how important is the box kick in rugby?
It is very important. And don't get me wrong, because I think people sort of think, like, I love doing it. Like, I love attacking.
Yeah.
But box kicking has become a huge part of the game. And I think part of my sort of longevity is because I've been able to evolve with the game. And a big part of my career was, it was the box kicks have become so important to create chaos. It's to create territory gain. It's to create unstructured opportunities. It's to relieve pressure without going any phases. So it is very, very important, and it's still become important. I'd like to think that, as rugby carries on, that the box kick, we sort of go away from that a little bit and become more variety in terms of what we see in terms of international rugby and the way that it's done. But for a long time, it was vitally important, and it still is. And especially with the new rules, you can't block. You create a contest. You essentially are getting the ball in an unstructured situation, potentially 20 metres further up against a defensive line that's all over the place. So it will forever be a weapon. And I think, maybe in the outside world is underappreciated, but the art of a great box kick is important, and it's never just done aimlessly.
Thanks for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. Huge thanks to Ben and to everyone else at the Love of Rugby, Archie, Steve, the other Ben, Dan Cole, the whole lot of them, and Watson, why not? The whole lot of them letting us do this in the middle of them recording some other episodes, enormously thanks, and for using their studio as well. We've got hopefully plenty more things going. Go and have a look at their podcast as well. They're doing great work and continuously doing so.
Yeah, sharing that love of rugby, which we need a little bit of. And it was very, very cool to sit down with an expert in that, somebody who's got a lot of international caps, if you haven't heard that already. Yes. Dan Cole wanted to get involved in the box kicking video, but Ben Youngs didn't let him.
He was having his lunch at the time. So there's loads more going on the channel as well. Please have a look around. We've got plenty more coming over the next few weeks. We've got a bit of a channel update coming next week. We've got all sorts coming beyond that. But also, there is a book. So Rugby, what's that? On sale now. The first copies, as you see, this should be going out in the next couple of days. Finally, apologies for anyone that pre-ordered before Christmas. The whole situation happened. The book's coming from France. It was a whole thing. But I did the words for this. This book is on sale now, and the first copies are starting to go out. It's starting to be in bookshops and so on in the new year. So we'll see you very soon, and there'll be more Rugby. Thank you again, Ben. And over Ben. Thank you to everyone called Ben.
Just one last clip before we end here. Please talk us through your box kick here as you make this decision. And oh no, who's that you throw the dummy to?
Yeah,
it's Antoine Dupont.
And out the back as well. Don't flick that out the back.
Out the back. Yep. He buys it.
He buys it. He's so used to doing it to everyone else. He doesn't suspect anyone doing it to him. But there we go. A bit of running game in there. But hey, still got it.
And that's
back then.
Something that we know all too well as Welsh fans, the amount of times you've torn us apart.
No. Well, yeah. I've had some good memories out there. I've had some bad losses to Wales. Don't get me wrong.
We remember them as well.
They've not all been good. Yeah, there's been some tragic ones, but no, all good.